Hello, everybody. Welcome to an basically unscripted ramble, I guess, about Super Mario RPG on the Switch, the remake. So I guess I kind of got the idea to like do something like this, you know, as opposed to like a full-on review, you know, like in like a traditional like video format that I do on the main channel. Because not everything deserves a full review. And also it's just kind of it is a lot more. It's actually quite a bit of work to make a video, and you know, some things I feel like it's just, you know, could be fun to just, you know, record my thoughts on it, even if it's not like a full-on like fully produced thing. It's just, I think, you know, it's a lot of work to make videos. I think it's especially hard to make reviews sometimes, just because it's like you have to, you know, I try to, you know, have the videos be like fairly like coherent and I guess like somewhat eloquent. Like eloquent's not like a great word because they're like, obviously they're kind of silly, but like in terms of just like having a somewhat carefully, like an actual like calculated piece of writing slash talking, I guess. I don't know. So, you know, it's like, you know, I do kind of not like the term video essay because it sounds a little like it sounds pretentious, basically. Not, I mean, like that's kind of what they are, but I don't know. It just sounds, I don't know. I don't like to call my videos that, but like in a sense it has like that function of an essay of having to have things very like planned out and having some sort of coherent structure and sort of an argument to it. I don't know. I feel like in some ways it actually is more restrictive on like how well you can fully like cover the essence of a game. I don't know. Like I don't make a lot of like full-on game reviews, just because like, you know, I don't know. I found like even with ones that I have made, it's just hard to like, you know, cover everything in a sort of like very coherent and like well-paced way without things like becoming kind of repetitive or just being like, oh, it has this thing. And then just kind of explaining it and then being like, I think it's neat. Like, so like I've struggled to do that like with a lot of the games that I've reviewed. And I think they, you know, the ones that I have done like Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Tears of the Kingdom and Pokemon Platinum and so on and so forth. I feel like I spend a lot more time just kind of explaining things, which I feel like, and then being like, oh, I like this because of whatever thing. And sometimes I don't know, I can't really like have like a thesis on like every like aspect of a game. I just kind of have like some random thoughts and such as what I have here. So I don't know. And I thought it's also maybe a way of still being able to create, make content about games without like, that doesn't take forever to make, as is evident by my typical upload schedule. So I thought it'd be interesting. I think also Mario RPG, I just don't really have a ton of interest in making a full-on video about it, to be honest. And also it's a Mario game, so I'm not allowed to, because it's I don't know, it's against the lore. So, but yeah, so I'm doing this instead. This may or may not become like a recurring thing, depending on what I feel. Like right now, as I'm sitting here recording this, I feel like this might be something interesting to do and have like a, you know, do this on a fairly regular basis. And I don't know if, you know, I also could set about to do the next one and being like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then this would be the only like sort of unedited like free-flowing type of video that I do. I don't know. I'm not committing to anything, but this is just something that I'm trying out, just like kind of for fun, because that's ultimately what it's about. You know, doing something fun and expressing yourself creatively, I guess. So anyway, there's that. I think I've been talking for too long now about this, about the existence of this, and not the existence of a video about Super Mario RPG, and not enough actually doing the video about Super Mario RPG. So I guess we can okay, let's review it now. I guess we can start with presentation, because I feel like that's a sort of obligatory part of every single review of a game that anyone's made ever in the history of existence. And it's something that I've never really cared about, because it's just like, the graphics are good, the graphics are bad, the music is good, or the music is bad. So like, I don't know, I just often have a hard time of saying anything really like constructive or like useful about a presentation especially. But I guess I will just say, I think the game's presentation is good. I like the graphics. I don't know. I mean, I think the art style is kind of, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think they did a good job at, like, you know, having something that looks, you know, nice and HD and whatever, while still kind of maintaining the spirit of the original game's art style. So I don't know. I thought that was good. Also, like, the cutscenes, I really liked those. I don't believe that the original game had cutscenes. At least not, like, nothing that was like animated separately from like just the regular game overworld. So like, but yeah, this game has quite a few like animated cutscenes. I think they look pretty damn good. Like I really enjoyed seeing them, and like the animations for like a lot of like the group triple attacks, I forgot what they're called, in like the main like combat and stuff. Like those I thought those look really, really damn good. So on that front, yeah, I liked it. I guess as far as music goes, like, yeah, it's good. I thought the music was good. I will say I don't like the particularly the battle theme, like the main like regular enemy battle theme, as much as like the original version, which I don't know. I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, like the original version's theme is, I don't know, it's just too good. Like, I don't know how you can like top that or like recreate it in a good way. So I mean, like, it's still fine, like the new one, and maybe it's just, you know, they took a different direction with it, which is, yeah, that's fine. But I do probably prefer it. And I think there's a decent chunk of other, you know, songs that I remember from the original game that I did enjoy a bit more in the original. But I mean, overall, like I don't know, I'd still say overall, like, the music and stuff was good, and I liked it. So that's kind of it. Even if I like the originals a little better overall, I don't know, the music was still good. The presentation was good. Also on that front, I'm realizing, me talking about like the original songs, I meant to say this at the beginning, but I forgot. I did play the original SNES version a couple of years ago. I guess I believe, yeah, it was like mid 2019. I didn't beat the game all the way through. I don't remember how far I got. I want to say I got like halfway through, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I don't remember exactly. Like I could probably like find the part that I stopped at. I don't remember exactly. It's not really relevant. Basically, I didn't beat the game. I thought it was pretty good, but I don't know. I'd still like, yeah, I never ended up finishing it. I think I remember kind of getting a little sick of it at the time that I dropped it. I don't know if that was just me wanting to play something else, or if I was just like actively disliking the game. But I don't know. I do vaguely remember like just a bit of malaise, I guess, like with the game the last time I played it. But I was still, you know, like interested to see what they did with this one, and I still thought, like, even though I was kind of, you know, maybe just at the time I wasn't having the best time with it, I still thought it was just like overall a good game. So that's why I still picked this one up, and I did end up beating the Switch version all the way through. So I guess it was a good choice. And now I can actually, you know, now I actually understand, or I guess now I can have more complete thoughts on the game. Although they definitely aren't quite the same. Anyway, I'm getting to that. So the next thing, I get the next big like bullet point that I wrote. I have like a tiny little, I have a tiny little bulleted outline here. That's all I'm going off of. It's just like the story and like the writing in general. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was fine. Like it was, you know, I almost never give a shit about the story in like any game ever, to be perfectly honest. Like I don't know. It like as long as it functions, it's fine to me for the most part. Like I can obviously like tell like when certain stories are better or worse than others, but I've never been like I don't think I've ever really, there's probably like some cases, but in general I've never found that like the story like actively significantly enhances a game. Okay, well no. It enhances a game, but not like it will not save a game if I don't like playing it, and like a story that sucks is not going to like stop me from playing a game that I find quite fun. But anyway, I don't know. The story was fine. It's like super, I think it's like pretty simple. You know, it's just like I don't expect much more. It's just kind of standard like you know, Nintendo-y like Mario fare. I don't know. I think that they didn't really take the story super seriously, I don't think, and that, I mean, that like that's fine. I think they were just, I don't know. I think this is meant to be a much more kind of silly, lighthearted game. And I guess on that note, that I can also kind of refer to the writing on that. I think the writing is like overall good. Like I don't know, I just enjoyed kind of the personality of the game, I guess. I guess that's a way to put it. It kind of has like that sort of hokey like 90s like silliness, I guess. I don't know. You can tell that this game was written and created in the 1990s, but it's not like it's like aged really, but it's just kind of, I don't know, it has a very kind of it has a very particular like style of writing that's just very like, you know, very lighthearted and informal. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. I just thought it was, I thought it was charming. I thought it was fun. There was some things that were just kind of weird, like fucking, I don't know. I just remember like especially near like the ending stretch of the game, because I played this game over a pretty long time span, like probably starting in like late October, or maybe early November, and then I just finished it like a week ago at the time of recording this. So like early March. So, and it's only like a 15-20 hour game, I want to say. Like I wasn't, yeah. I had some on and off moments with this game, so I don't remember a ton from like the early moments, but I just remember like in this last stretch of the game, there's like this boss where it's meant to be, I'm assuming it's meant to be like a parody of the Power Rangers. I'm assuming it definitely is. They're called the Rangers, and they have like they have the fucking Power Rangers colors. I'm pretty sure those are the Power Rangers colors. But anyway, it's like, I just like, there's this, when you fight them and you like beat them one by one, and like they start to like retreat, and they give like, you know, excuses of like why they're leaving or whatever. And of course it's like the one fucking the one like woman ranger, and she's like, oh, my makeup is running. I'm like come on, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. And then there's also like this moment very close to the end where fucking like Peach is like just is like cowers behind Mario while like talking to like a boss and being like, oh, we're not scared. I don't know. That's like, you know, and that was also, I felt like that was just a bit strange and off-putting. And then of course, bro, and all of Peach's moves are like all her like attacks are all it's shit like group hug and like therapy, and they have like smiley faces and hearts around them. I don't know. It's like, it's kind of charming, fun in like a vacuum, but it's also, I don't know. My point is, this game has some fucking weird handling of some of its woman characters. It's not something that like happened like a ton, but it was just like those little moments, and that just really like stuck out to me, and I was just like, this is strange. We just don't need this. So, yeah. The other thing that I kind of specifically had in mind as far as like story slash writing goes is fucking Mallow. Like I don't know. I just don't like him, and I like it's sort of like a kind of irrational dislike. Like he's not like unbearable in the game or anything, but I just like I never liked him as a character, as far as like his whole shit is just like, oh, I'm such a crybaby, and like that, and like I don't know, that's like whatever, but I just never liked like any of his dialogue. Just like his vibe was just not good. It was not like I don't know. It was never like entertaining to have him on screen. It just always like, I don't know. He was just a very kind of pathetic or like pitiable character, and but not in like a way that I found to be like entertaining or enjoyable or like sympathetic, I guess. I don't know. I can't say that like it annoyed me or like pissed me off, because it wasn't like, it did not, Mallow didn't inspire strong feelings in me positively or negatively, but it's just like, I don't know. I always like the scenes with Mallow, and I would just be like, I don't know how to describe this. I don't know. I just be like, come on, man. Like it just kind of Mallow mostly inspired groans for me, I guess. Even that feels too strong of a descriptor, but I don't know. I didn't like Mallow as a character. I didn't think he was. I think he was probably perhaps the weakest of the cast. Despite being an original character, he had like a fine like storyline overall in like a vacuum, I guess. But I didn't like being around him, and this is perhaps somewhat irrational, but you know, so I'm sorry to the Mallow fans, but I didn't like him. I hate to say it. And so the last big thing is basically the gameplay, which is perhaps the most important part of a game, and also always the most important part of a review, I would argue, despite spending like 3 fucking minutes or something talking about Mallow. But anyway, yeah, I like it. It's an RPG. And okay, actually, I probably want to talk about like the overworld stuff first, because that's a bit lighter or less to discuss there, but I'll just get that over with first, which is you move around and you jump mostly. But you know, I don't know. It's I don't know how to describe it in any like elaborate detail. But it's just you go around the world and you solve puzzles or walk through the level or whatever. You find secrets and stuff. And that's all fine. The only thing is like the isometric camera, for the most part, it's fine. Like that's what they did in the original game, and it made sense for the SNES especially, and like you have to keep it like for if you're gonna remake the game, because that was kind of a like big part of how it was designed. But my only problem with it is that like it just like messed me up sometimes with like platforming challenges and stuff, which anything involving platforming, it did not happen very often, but there were just these, I just remember like kind of the occasional moment where like I was trying to line up a jump and like it was just completely wrong despite like how it looked. I was like, what the, how, like, bro, I literally like perfectly lined that up. How did I fail that jump? And it's just, and I think that had to do in large part with the camera, and it didn't, and sometimes it actively like that camera slash visual slash overworld structure, I guess, it just caused a little bits, it caused a few bits of annoyance just kind of from time to time. Not like a big problem, but it was something that I noticed sometimes, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. Okay, so on to like the actual main like gameplay part. It's an RPG. It is turn-based combat where you fight enemies and stuff, and that's it. That's all you fight enemies with your attacks, and you can get experience and level up and increase your stats. So yeah, I guess I thought it was fine. I guess I guess one thing is like the sort of the timed attacks and like blocks. I thought those are interesting. I thought those were good, a good way to make it just like a little more interactive, of just like it's nothing crazy. You're just pressing the A button at the right time, basically, when you're doing like a regular attack, or actually at like any type, regular or special attacks. Although special attacks is sometimes a bit more elaborate, but yeah. And then you can also, like, if you press A at the right moment, you know, you can block enemy attacks and take less damage or often no damage. I did notice, in general, the timing for the attacks was not very hard overall. I thought it was, you know, it was fine. It was just a nice little way to just make it a little less brainless and repetitive. But I will say I did something. All right, maybe I'm just like fucking bad at this game. I don't know, but I definitely think I was not as good at blocking some of the enemy attacks. Like if I could get used to it, you know, if I could, you know, fight an enemy a couple times, then I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, then I understand the timing. But there's a lot of, in theory, it's supposed to be like all the attacks, it will show like an exclamation point, like at the time when you're supposed to block. Or at least that's the impression that I got from how it described it, is that it's, you know, that's meant to be your cue. That's not meant to be, it tells you when to block, and then you are supposed to figure that out for the next time, or remember it for the next time, I guess. But the way that I interpret it is that, like, you could see it for any attack, even if you didn't know what the enemy was doing. If you saw that exclamation point, you could block it. But that was not really the case. Like, just because, like, literally by the time, for some attacks anyway, by the time that the exclamation point would appear on screen and, like, the light particles would enter your eyes and into your brain, and you could mentally process the fact that it's there and then be able to react. Like, by that time, it's too late. It's already over. The enemy hit you and you missed your window to block. And that was just, like, kind of, it was weird. It was a kind of minor annoyance. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't really like a big deal. Like, it's not like you would get like one shot if you didn't block. Like, it's not, you could probably, you know, beat the game just fine without ever blocking once. Like, it's not like an integral part of it. But I definitely just, like, I found it annoying sometimes, just because of that, because I felt like it was supposed to be like you could block based on the cue, but they didn't I didn't think they allowed enough time to actually literally, like, mentally process the cue. Like, it just happens really damn fast. I think the main annoyance with it is then you would lose, like, your combo for, like, building up that like triple attack meter. So I guess I'm talking about the triple attack meter thing now. That's just, like, you know, I think each, like, different, like, arrangement of, like, 3 characters has like their own, like, kind of special attack where you build up the meter by successfully blocking attacks and also successfully, like, pressing A at the right time or whatever, like, when you're doing attacks. And then, like, once you fill it up, you can use, like, a little special attack that'll maybe, like, you know, like, I think the default is, like, you'll summon Toad and you'll just get, like, a random, like, tiny perk, or, like, gift or whatever, or just, like, an effect or something like that. And then, like, I think a good chunk of them is just, like, they do a lot of damage to all the enemies, and that, you know, that kind of makes sense. So those were, like, fine, just, like, an extra little, like, an extra way to, like, do damage, just an extra, like, bonus for doing good at the game, I guess. You know, again, not a super integral part of the gameplay or anything, but, you know, it was interesting, or, you know, maybe it's nice to have there. But part of it was that you could basically build up combos. Maybe not a combo. I think it was just, it's more like a streak. I don't know if it's called a combo or a streak in the game, but it's not really. It's more like just a streak, basically, of, you know, if you can successfully, you know, keep timing your attacks right and your blocks right over and over and over, then, you know, you'll build up, like, a streak, and then I'm pretty sure it makes you, like, build the meter faster. It could also be, like, totally superfluous and it doesn't actually do anything. I probably should have fact-checked that. I'm gonna fact-check that, actually. Okay, so I found an article that says that, yes, if you have, like, a combo, it will build the meter faster. So, yeah, I'm going with that. It also said that you get extra, like sort of effects as you like build up the combo, which yeah, that is true that I forgot about. But you know, just like maybe like it'll increase your defense or whatever, like for like, you know, maybe the duration of the battle or yeah, or maybe just some time frame. But anyway, yeah, that's what the combos do. But where it becomes a problem is what I was saying with the like the blocks, where the enemy attacks where you're supposed to block it, and like I was saying, how the timing for when it like cues you to block often does not really give you enough time to even react, and then that will wreck your combo. And that's kind of annoying, especially if it's just like new enemies that you know literally don't know what they're gonna do. And again, I mean, it's not really like a big deal because it's just like it's not like a game making or game breaking. It will not make or break the experience. But sometimes it's like I've gotten like some pretty high combos, and then it makes me really sad to see it go from like, you know, 90 or some shit back down to 0. So yeah, I guess it's still kind of a minor annoyance, but it, you know, it's just, that's something that I remember distinctly from the experience. Also, another thing that I just saw in that article that I forgot to mention was if you time your button press for your regular attacks correctly, it can often will basically do like splash damage to like other enemies. Sometimes it won't happen every time you do it successfully, but I guess that is just another. I just wanted to add that was another incentive to doing that beyond just filling up the meter, and it does come in kind of handy, and sometimes it allows you to basically clear battles more quickly, or you can maybe strategize, I guess is maybe a bit of a strong word, but yeah, and you can be like, oh, I can probably target this enemy because this one's almost down, and I can take it out with a splash damage, basically. Not the, like, it's not called splash damage in the game. I don't know what it's called. I don't think it has a name, but that's what I'm calling it. It just does damage, a smaller amount of damage to the other enemies. Okay, so moving on from that, I guess a big thing that stuck out to me, as I was just saying, like about how fast you can clear battles, especially with you know, perks like the triple moves. Okay. They are called triple moves. The attacks that are used by everyone, they're called triple moves. I figured that out. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about was kind of a big thing that stuck out was the difficulty of the game. One thing that I remember from the original SNES game that I played a while back is that it was like decently hard. I guess I don't think it wasn't like crazy difficulty or anything. Like, it wasn't super hard, but I remember it being like a decent challenge anyway. But this game was not. It just like was not really hard. Like, there was not really any place where I really think that I struggled. Like, it got kind of like mindless. Like, especially like just like regular enemies, you can almost always beat them in 1 or 2 regular attacks. And I think it weirdly, I wouldn't say it got boring, because like I still like got through all the way through the game, although it is sort of, I guess it's not something you have to devote a ton of focus towards, but it does get sort of, it's not like a super intense like difficult experience where you always are kind of have to be on your game and like strategize. Like, it's just a lot of the times the battles are just pressing A over and over until you win. So like even like the boss battles and like the mini boss battles, it really didn't. So a lot of the times, I think mainly for like sort of the mini bosses that I thought would, or at least I think they're mini bosses, because they have different music from the boss bosses. But yeah, I just remember a lot of like, sometimes I was actually like really surprised at how quickly like I beat them, because they were not, I don't know. They just were not very hard to beat, or just didn't have a lot of health, or I just did a lot of damage. But something, I don't know. I was not like grinding the game or anything. Like, I really was just fighting all the enemies that I would, you know, see in an area, but like I wouldn't like run back and forth to try and like grind levels. I would just keep walking through, and whatever enemy would cross my path, then I would fight them, and that was it. So it's not like I was like, I don't think I was like being excessive in any way to like make it too easy that I shouldn't have done that. So yeah, but yeah, I think mini bosses, I was often surprised at how quickly I beat them. And then even like some of the bosses, like the bosses were fine. Like they weren't like, it's not like you could just like destroy them in like a few turns, but they weren't like ever really that tough, I would say. But yeah, I mean, they were fine. And I think some of them, you know, were at least kind of hard, or at least, you know, kind of had to be like, oh shoot, I gotta heal my guys, or I gotta, you know, I might need to come up with a new strategy for this or whatever. Not really come up with a new strategy, but just, I don't know. Not really come up with a new strategy, but just like doing anything beyond just mindlessly button mashing. But on that note of just like mashing A, something I've noticed is that like, I mean, when I refer to mashing A, I mean you press A to use your regular attacks, and you also have a bunch of special attacks that, like, you know, I feel like that's pretty common in a lot of RPGs where it's just you have like a regular attack, then you have some special attacks that maybe have some special effects, maybe do some more damage, but or maybe hit like other like multiple enemies at once, or, you know, random stuff like that, which I think is in a lot of games, but is also true here in Mario RPG. And they, you know, and they cost like I think in this game they're the flower points. They cost a resource to use. And, you know, that's kind of the trade-off of getting the extra effects of the special moves in exchange for the fact that their usage is more limited. But I found that oftentimes, like, the special moves just were not helpful. Like, I've noticed a lot of the time, like in a decent chunk of cases, my regular default attack did as much damage, maybe slightly less, but very close, if not more damage than like my strongest special attack on any of my characters. Which was a bit strange. And I was just like, why even use my specials? And in some cases they did still come in handy. Like I think there were a few like random enemies where they just like, you couldn't defeat them or do damage to them through regular attacks, so you had to use a special, and I guess that's something. And there are some that like will hit multiple enemies, or like, you know, like Mario has like the fireballs, and those will do extra damage to like certain enemies that, you know, have the weakness. And, you know, enemies have different weaknesses to different types of moves. But for the most part, I was kind of surprised at just like how like not helpful the special moves were. Like they were fine, but they were not like, they were hardly an essential element of the game, I would say. Like, I don't know, I thought it would be much more like, oh, I really got to make sure I keep my like flower points up so I can, you know, keep spamming specials against, you know, these bosses and whatever. But that was very much not the case. Like, it was just, they were kind of there, but they weren't, and, you know, but they weren't always the most viable option. In fact, probably most of the time, the most viable option in regular fights and like boss fights was just to use your regular attack, which is kind of weird. That said, I will say I used characters that all their, you know, specials just did damage. Like I used Mario, Bowser, and Geno for the entire game, at least pretty much the entire game from when I had them all unlocked. And then I like never ever used Mallow or Peach, except Peach in like maybe the final boss, because her specials had like things where you could heal or like restore, heal yourself from like a, you know, heal health or heal yourself from a status effect. So that was fine, and I guess that's one of those cases where, you know, that they do come in handy. But I never used Peach throughout the entire game, because I never really, again, it was not very hard, and I never encountered a scenario where I was like, oh, maybe I want to switch up my strategy. Maybe I want like a support healer character like Peach. No, I was just like, no, I'm fine with just using these high damage characters and just mashing A throughout the entire game. And that strategy never really failed me, so I just never like had any interest in like swapping out characters. Like they didn't really have a ton of unique utility between all of them, other than, you know, I get, you know, they had different specials and such, but like I said, specials didn't really matter that much. And so, yeah, I just never had any incentive to swap out characters. Although, on that note, I will say it is still good. I am glad that they did it so that all all usable characters gain EXP even if they didn't participate in the battle, because then, in theory, if I wanted to use Mallow or Peach, which rarely ever came up except when one of my main 3 died, but if I ever did want to use them, they wouldn't be like super underleveled and just get obliterated instantly, which that was nice. I guess on the subject of leveling, you have the the like kind of extra boost that you get when you level up. You know, you get to pick stats that you can give a little extra increase to. But I felt like almost all of the time it was just you could either increase health, attack, or like special or magic. I don't remember this what the stat was called. But the stat that affects how much damage you do with your special moves. But almost all of the time it was like one of the 3 options. Maybe was it attack and defense, not just attack? It doesn't matter. Point is, of the 3 options, almost all of the time there were two of the options that would only increase a stat by 1, and only one of the options would increase a stat by more than 1. So I always gravitated towards that option. So it didn't really feel like a, you know, I guess that was still my choice, but it was just, I don't know, it was just kind of weird, like how it always did that, and it kind of nudged you towards picking a specific one, which I always did, and maybe that's just how I personally played. But, and I guess if you really wanted to, you can, you know, super like invest all of your points, or, you know, all of your boosts into like one stat and have like, you know, just have a super powerful regular attacker or magic user or whatever. But I never did that. So I guess it's not really a, I don't know, I guess it's not really a positive or negative thing. I guess it's positive in the sense that it gives you more options, but then it kind of, maybe this is just how I personally played it, that it didn't, you know, I kind of felt like there was a correct choice every time. But maybe that's just because I didn't care that much about how I distributed my stats, because it never really made much of a difference because the game was not very hard. So yeah, I think that's basically everything about the gameplay. I guess how I would think about summing it up is just like, it has like, you know, a decent amount of depth and just like, you know, interesting mechanics and stuff that, you know, give you some options in how you want to play. Like, you know, being able to use regular attacks or specials, or choosing which party members you want, or I guess, yeah, choosing which characters you want to be in like your main party. I don't know if all 5 usable characters count as the party, or if it's just the 3 you have in battle, whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is, you have options for which characters you want to use, and you can, you know, choose what stats you want to give extra boosts to when you level up. And, you know, stuff like that. But it is sort of, undermined, I guess, by the fact that the game is just not that hard, to where it's like, it's not really necessary to put any thought or effort into, like, you know, assembling a team, or yeah, assembling a specific strategy of how you want to approach battles, because I found that it worked out just fine to just button mash A to victory, and that worked out in just about pretty much through the entire game. And I don't know if, I feel like they had to have made it easier compared to the original SNES version, because I remember like the SNES version being decently hard, or at least I definitely did, from what I played, I definitely did have like a hard time in some instances, and I just don't remember anything from the Switch remake where I was like, oh geez, this is hard. And as a matter of fact, much of the time I was kind of, you know, I was just like, wow. Or I think sometimes where I was like, I guess from the parts of the original that I did play, I was like, wow, this is not as hard as I remember. I don't think I magically got better at Mario RPG because, like, again, I just mashed A. So I feel like they must have made it, like, easier. And, you know, it was kind of fine. Like, I'm not always into, like, super duper brutal RPGs, and so it didn't make it boring, I guess. But, you know, it was quite easy, and I guess it was kind of fine. You know, it made it a bit of a relaxing game. But I guess if you are sort of looking for a more challenging and sort of in-depth type of RPG that actually, you know, encourages you to think and to strategize, this game is not that. This game is definitely not that. And I think it's fine. Like, I still had fun with it, but yeah, it's not very hard, and I think the gameplay loop can be a little mindless. And, you know, I guess I still enjoyed the game overall, but that is definitely something I noticed, and I guess maybe I wouldn't have finished it if it were hard. Maybe that's why I didn't finish the original one. Maybe that's why I didn't like it as much. But I don't. Yeah. Point is, it has like a solid gameplay loop overall that I think is maybe undermined a bit by the fact that the game is just quite easy. But I wouldn't say that it actively makes the game like boring or unfun or anything. And I think I would still like. I'd still say I overall like had a good time playing. So I think that's it as far as gameplay. There was just one other thing that I wrote down because I think it just stuck out to me because it was right near the end of the game. This is just like the final segment of it. I guess spoilers if you care about that. There was this like segment kind of near the end of the game. It wasn't like, I think, the very final level, but it was like you got to pick. You had to go through. There were 6 doors where you could go through, and that had like their own challenges. There were 2 that were combat, 2 that were platforming, and 2 that were puzzles. And you had to go through 4 of the challenges. I just remember I think this is part of why I was talking about the isometric camera like screwing me up in platforming. That is, I guess I really noticed it in that segment near the end where I was sometimes like, what the hell? I thought that jump was totally reasonably aligned, and it just was not. It was not. So I didn't really like the platforming challenge of that too much. The combat one that I did, I did 2 of them. Did I? I don't remember. But it was fine. Again, it was combat, so it was perhaps a bit mindless. But I thought the puzzle ones were pretty good. Like, I liked, there was one where you had to count barrels in a time limit. And that one I didn't like that much because it was just like, I don't know if you, like, I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of hard, I guess, if you were, I don't know. I guess I could have just, like, screenshotted it and then, like, then looked and counted it. But I didn't do that. I played it fair and square. The first one is kind of not that hard, but then it's, like, the second one where there's a ton of barrels, and it's like, oh, that one's a little harder to count in the amount of time they give you. Or maybe I'm just stupid. Who knows? They had one that was, like, doing trivia questions, which is like trivia questions about the game, which was interesting because it wasn't like basic stuff. Like, there was like some like kind of niche things about like NPC dialogue and like the names of items and locations and characters and stuff that I thought was like very interesting as, I guess, a way to reward the player who paid attention, I guess, and actually perhaps like took the time to thoroughly explore everything and like talk to all the characters, talk to all the NPCs and stuff, or maybe just having a good memory, I suppose. Maybe, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. So, you know, I enjoyed it overall. There were some stuff where I was like, I don't fucking remember this at all, and then I got it wrong, and then I learned for the next time. But I thought that was interesting. And then, like, I think the final puzzle there that I really liked was, it showed you like 4 characters, and they were like, oh, they all competed in a marathon, and you need to figure out how they placed in the final rankings. And they would like give you some like if you talk to them, they would all give you some details about, you know, how they placed kind of relative to other characters. And like, I think one or two of them like literally said, you know, oh, I got third or fourth or whatever in this segment, you know, in this part of the marathon. And you kind of had to like logic your way through like, okay, you had to kind of, you know, you had to figure out, where they all placed by kind of, you know, using the relatively limited clues that they give you and then kind of working through it gradually and like ruling out characters that, you know, could or couldn't have placed in specific spots. And I enjoyed, like, you know, I enjoyed, like, I actually, you know, kind of plotted out. I wrote down in my, pulled out my notes app on my phone and like I did it. And it was kind of, it was enjoyable to like kind of try to figure that out. I remember I got like a little confused near the end because I was like trying to figure out where they placed in every single, like all three like parts of the marathon and not just the final ranking. And I'd kind of forgotten that you only needed to figure out the final ranking. So there was like one where I was like, oh, there's literally not enough info to figure this out. What the heck? And I realized, oh, you don't need to do that. You don't need to figure that out. So that was a little dumb of me, but I don't know. I just enjoyed it. I think it reminded me of, I don't know. It reminded me of like in 6th grade math class where for some reason, like every Friday, instead of doing math, our teacher would just have us do these like logic puzzles that were very similar to that, that were just like, you know, you had to work with limited information and then kind of gradually intuit like through, you know, just kind of thinking and carefully like reading the clues and stuff and figuring it out over time. And I enjoyed it. Maybe this is, I guess the more I talk about it, maybe I'm talking about how I like to, how I'm a big fan of puzzles designed for 12-year-olds. So that reflects well on my character and my intelligence. So that's nice. Okay, well, I don't know why I just spent so long talking about that particular thing. I think it just stuck out in my mind because it was at the end of the game. But I don't know. I like that puzzle segment. I enjoyed it because you don't get to do much of that throughout most of the game. There are a few like other like puzzles, but not much. I guess there was one other one where you're like exploring the sunken ship. I think it's a sunken ship. Maybe it's just a ship. And yeah, you are slowly getting clues to like a password. Yeah, it's just a password that will, you know, allow you to progress and like fight the boss and stuff. And that one was kind of interesting just because there's like a lot of places to explore, and it takes a bit of time and effort to like gather, you know, all the clues and then eventually figure it out. So that one was also good. But other than that, not a lot of puzzles throughout the game, so I enjoyed that. But anyway, I think that is all. I think that is all I had to say about Super Mario RPG on the Switch. I am realizing now that I have been recording for actually quite a long time. I think like almost an hour now, which is very strange because I didn't think I was going to do that. I did not set out to do that an hour ago. I thought this was maybe going to be like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe max. That might at 20 minutes would be pushing it. And now here I am. It turns out that I actually have quite a bit to say about games like Mario RPG, especially when I repeat myself often and say and quite a bit. So, all right. Well, now I'm like consciously being aware of every time that I say unfortunately, damn it, I did it again. Unfortunately, that is a part of human speech, especially my human speech, apparently. So it is what it is. But anyway, I think this is why this is taking fucking forever, because this is very much not to the point like a typical video. This is me rambling with like a like 2/3 of a page outline with some bullet points on it. With that is a general guideline of what I wanted to talk about, but mostly me just going on tangents and talking about things in a bit of a rambly way. But perhaps if you are still watching all the way through this, perhaps this was somewhat enjoyable. Perhaps this was something nice to put on in the background while you do something else. I feel like that this is not something that demands full attention. If you were locked in to this video throughout the entire thing, well, more power to you, but I also don't blame you if you were doing something else. But perhaps this was at least mildly interesting to hear someone else's thoughts about a game. I think that's, you know, reviews of things are popular for a reason. So perhaps this was in some form enjoyable to watch and or listen to. Maybe I will do more of these. Maybe I will not. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you for watching / listening to this through all the way to the end. If you made it this far and didn't just skip to the end, I don't know why you would do that. Okay, that is enough. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.